Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are on page 124 of Zach's Lies. So we just left off where they've made it up to the mountains. Zach has met Caitlin's grandfather, Benet, and Caitlin has just asked, "Did you have a girlfriend?" And got a little embarrassed, but let's see where this is going to go. So, page 124, if we start just a teeny bit ahead. So, did you have a girlfriend in Oregon? Zach turned red. "I'm sorry," Caitlin said quickly. "I guess that's none of my business." "No, that's okay," Zach hesitated. "I didn't have a girlfriend, although there'd been a girl at his old school he had been interested in." "Your mom's opening a bookstore?" Zach nodded. "So what does your dad do?" "Dad," Zach thought. "Oh, he's an international drug smuggler." "I'm not sure. I haven't seen him in a while," Zach. Zach took the initiative and changed the subject himself. "I noticed you and your friends reading books in the cafeteria." "I guess you started a fad," Caitlin said. Zach laughed. A rabbit flushed ahead of them. "Thanks for inviting me up here." She smiled. "We better get back before my grandfather starts to worry about us." "I guess we should," Zach said. Caitlin took his hand and they walked back up the trail. When they reached camp, Ander had dinner well underway on the stove inside the tent. Benet was tending the horses and Sam was building a campfire. "I'll help Ander with dinner," Caitlin said. "Not that he needs it." She went into the tent. Zach helped Sam with the fire, wondering if he had now had a girlfriend. By the time they had the fire going, dinner was ready. Caitlin came out of the tent and sat next to Zach. A moment later, Ander came out carrying 2 loaves of freshly baked bread and a wheel of cheese. "The meat will be done soon," he said. They sat around the fire, tearing off pieces of bread and slicing thick slabs of cheese from the wheel with Ander's hunting knife. "How's your mother?" Benet asked Caitlin. "She's mad at you." "She's always mad at me." "She says that if you don't come down to the hotel in the next 2 weeks, she's sending people up to bring you down." "Ha! She said that? She means it. We'll see." "You've had a fair warning, Grandpa." "That's all a man can ask for." Benet sniffed the air. "Thank God you brought us snakes. We've been eating nothing but mutton for the past 10 days. Ander went into the tent and came back out with a plate piled with steaks and a pot of boiled potatoes. It was hard for Zach to believe that anything could taste better than the meal he had eaten at the hotel the night before. But it did. He was beginning to understand why Benet stayed up in the mountains. After they ate, the men passed around a leather bag of red wine and squirted the juice into their mouths with their heads thrown back. Sam was as skilled with the bag as Benet and Ander. "I think when I grow up, I want to be a sheep herder," Zach told Caitlin. "There's worse things to be," she said. "But you're a little late. Most sheep these days are raised on huge corporate ranches in the flatlands. They feed the sheep medicated pellets and high-nutrient hay so they grow faster. And before you decide to become a shepherd, you need to try herding during the winter when it's really cold." "I don't know how they can stand it." "Who owns the sheep?" "Benet, and he loses money every year, according to my mother. The hotel and restaurant make up for what he loses out here. He pays Ander well and makes him put half his money in a special account that he can't touch until his contract is up. Ander has been here for 2 years. He has another year to go. Will he go back?" "Hard to say. He has a girlfriend back home. He'll either go back to her or he'll try to save enough money to have her come over here." Ander went into the tent and came out with an old battered guitar and a small accordion. He gave the guitar to Benet and they began to play and sing. Zach did not understand the words, but it didn't matter. So, italics, he's journaling. Monday, October 2nd. I woke up before dawn and stayed in my sleeping bag, stargazing, until the sun took him away. I slipped out of my bag quietly and walked up to the rise above camp. It's cold. Frost on the grass. I can hear the sheep. A thin wisp of smoke is coming out of the tent stovepipe where Caitlin, Benet, and Ander are sleeping. Sam is curled up in his bag like a cocoon next to the campfire. I'm glad I brought my journal. I have a lot to write about. A week ago, I had no friends. This morning, I'm up in the Ruby Mountains with a girl I can't seem to stop thinking about. A girl who doesn't even know my real name or the color of my eyes and probably never will. Uncle Don and Aunt Doris didn't prepare me for this. Sam is up. He looks up here and waves. I wave back. He begins to put wood on the fire. I should go down and help him. What about Sam? He seems to have worked his way into our lives, or maybe we've worked our way into his. He's a composer. He speaks Basque, reads Russian. Not your everyday custodian. Ander comes out of the tent and helps Sam with the fire. And there's Caitlin, stretching out her arms above her head before putting on her down vest. She sees my empty sleeping bag and looks around. Sam says something to her and she looks up to the top of the rise, and now she's coming my way. I like the way she moves. I like everything about this girl. I just wish I could tell her who I really am. But Zach closed the journal. So that's what you keep in the backpack, Caitlin said. He put the journal away. You're a writer as well as a reader. Not really, Zach said. It's just my way of keeping track of things. Caitlin sat down next to him. You sleep well? Yeah, the rubies are great. I hate to leave. So, Zachary Granger, tell me more about your mom and sister. Like what? What are they like? Like twins, he said. What do you mean? Same hair color, same eyes, same height. You'd know they were related if you saw them. Wanda's a senior in high school. She wants to be an actress. She's trying out for the lead in Sam's opera. What about your mom? She's opening a bookstore. That's it? Pretty much. And what about Zach Granger? Zach smiled. He wants to grow up and be a sheep herder. Pretty simple. I have a feeling there's nothing simple about Zachary Granger, Caitlin said. I think there's a lot more to him that he isn't saying. Zach stood. How could he get to know someone if he couldn't talk about himself? Smells like they're cooking breakfast down there. You're changing the subject. I'm hungry. We brought them fresh eggs. Not a lot of chickens up here. Andrew nearly cried when he saw them. Think he'll share 'em? Zach smiled. The Basques are very generous people. Back to writing. Friday, October 6th. Commander If is back. I was putting a book in my backpack and he fell out on the bed. His head is back on his neck. He told me Caitlin slipped him into the backpack when we were up in the rubies. She knew he was my friend all along, but didn't want to embarrass me by pushing the issue. What a girl. Commander If misses her. Caitlin and I had started walking to school together. We might as well, because everyone knows everything about everybody. On Tuesday, half a dozen different people came up and asked me if I enjoyed Benet's Sheep Camp. Translation: What's going on between you and Caitlin? I told them I had a great time. Even Wanda knows about Caitlin and me. She said that a sister of someone who goes to my school told her. She didn't tease me about it, which makes me think that this maturity role she's playing isn't all bad. Everyone seems happy about me and Caitlin, except for Peter Short. He was waiting for me at my locker after school yesterday. His eye is kind of an ugly yellow now. He told me to stay away from Caitlin. I told him to forget it. I'm sure I haven't heard the last of this from Peter, but I'm not worried about him. A secretary came into Zach's homeroom and handed Miss Miller a note. Daryl Gill and Zach Granger, Miss Miller said. You're both to go to Mr. Sebastia's room. Zach and Daryl looked at each other from across the room. Now? Daryl asked. Now, Miss Miller said. Out in the hallway, Zach asked Daryl what he had done. I was going to ask you the same thing, Daryl said. When they got to Sam's room, they found him pushing a hydraulic lift on wheels underneath one of the trap doors in the ceiling. Thanks for coming, Sam said. Like we had a choice, Daryl scoffed. What did we do wrong? Not a thing. I wanted to make you boys a proposition. He locked the wheels on the lift and walked over to them. You know we're doing the stage production of the Opera Ghost. I need a couple more stage hands. I thought you might be interested. Daryl eyed Sam suspiciously. What would we have to do? Mostly grunt work. I'll have several high school kids helping us as well, but it might be handy to have a couple people here at the school in case I need help during the day. Daryl smiled. You mean we would have to miss classes sometimes? Not often, but as we get closer to the production day, I'm in, Daryl said quickly. Thought you might be. There would be some weekend and evening work too. How about you, Zach? What about your building? I'm not in a hurry to get it finished. It's been a mess for longer than I've been in Elko. Because of Caitlin, Zach wasn't in a hurry to get it done either, but becoming a stagehand meant he would be spending less time next door to the Nevada, and he wasn't thrilled about that prospect. Sam saw his hesitation. I'll tell you what I'll do. I can't pay you anything, but if you have to work weekends here, I'll treat you both to dinner at the hotel. In that case, Zach said, I'm in too. Good. Do you have time for a short tour? Daryl glanced at the clock. We have time for a long tour. Sam started by showing them the trapdoors. They're hazards, and I should have nailed them shut long ago, but I'm glad I didn't, because we're going to use them in a couple scenes. There are 10 of them, and they're controlled by these levers. He led them over to the workbench. The levers are numbered, and each letter has its own padlock. The padlocks are marked with corresponding numbers in red, and I have the only keys. If a padlock is hanging on the hook above the lever, it means the lever is hot, which means don't touch it. Kind of a long fall, Daryl said, looking up at one of the trapdoors. That's why I have this lift. We put it under the trap door we're using. It works like an elevator. There's not much else to explain down here. I guess we can move up to the stage where most of the work will be done. As Zach and Daryl passed the punching bag hanging beneath the door number 8, they took a swing at it. When they got up to the stage, Sam demonstrated how the lights operated. Now, you probably won't be operating the lights. I'll have a crew from the high school do that. So what will we be doing? Daryl asked. You'll be moving props around in between acts and helping to raise and lower backdrops. I'll show you. They followed him over to a series of ropes tied to cleats in the wall. It's all done with block and tackle on a pulley system. Zach and Daryl prolonged the tour as long as they could. El Sereno, ooh, bad guy, was going through June Saunders' mail, envelope by envelope. When he came across a personal letter, he set it in a separate pile to be opened and read later. He was almost at the bottom of the stack when he came to a postcard with a photo of a space shuttle on it. The only writing on the other side was June Saunders' address. He looked at the postmark on the card and smiled. The Osborns were in Elko, Nevada, or at least they had been, on September 29th. He called Alonzo. We'll go to Elko, Alonzo said. What will you do with the postcard? El Sereno tore the postcard into small pieces and dropped them into the waste can. I'm afraid it got lost in the mail. Alonzo got on the intercom and told the pilot to change his course to Elko, Nevada. Paul and Barry were aboard. Oh, wait, yes, we've still got a little bit that we'll keep reading, but what this looks like is... If you look at your mail, you'll see this too. But what they're talking about is at like the top, you're going to see something like, say, this one. See where it says Philadelphia here? And this one's like a really old one. But even on your mail today, like literally, if you guys get a letter in the mail or something, you're going to see it says where it's from and then the date. A lot of things that get routed to Portage, I think, go through Milwaukee, sometimes Madison. But check that out the next time you get a letter. You'll see this little like post mark on there, and that's what El Sereno just saw, because every post office that, well, is like a major routing center, it gets stamped. So I don't know if I could 100% believe that it was from Elko. I feel like it would have been a bigger city nearby, but for the sake of the book, that's what they're talking about if you hadn't seen that or heard about that before. So, continuing, we are on Saturday, October 7th. It's in italics, so Zach is writing. I'm at Sam's building. Caitlin just brought lunch over to me, and she said she would be right back. So I thought I'd take a few minutes to write some things down. Journal number 5 is just about used up, and it's my last one. I doubt I'll be able to find another like it here in Elko. Maybe Mom can find something similar in one of the retail catalogs she's constantly poring over. I've gotten most of the sawdust out of the building. This morning, Sam supplied me with paint, drop cloths, brushes, and rollers. Then he went over to the bookstore. I haven't been there since they started, but Mom says the shelves are up and it's beginning to look like a bookstore. Someone from the hotel left for the mountains this morning to pick up Benet. He had sent word that he would come down for a week under the condition that Sam, Caitlin, and I take him back up and spend at least another night in the mountains with him. I'm looking forward to it. So, the Grangers have settled into their new lives. 10 days ago, I would not have believed this was possible. The only thing we're missing is Dad. Last night, I asked Mom how she thought he was doing. She said she hoped he was okay. I asked her if he thought that they would let him out. She said that even though he's cooperating with the DEA, there was a good chance that he was going to serve some time. But the most important thing was that he is safe where he is. I asked her what would happen if he got out. Would he join us here in Elko? She said she didn't know and went to her bedroom. Dad really screwed things up for us. But I sure miss him. Caitlin came back into the building. Zach wiped the tears away with his shirt sleeve and put the journal into his backpack. Is everything all right, Zach? He looked away. Yeah, no problem. She sat down next to him. I've been meaning to talk to you about something, she said. Go ahead. When we were up in the mountains, I asked you about your family and what it was like in Portland. I was trying to learn something about you, but every time I brought the subject up, you changed it. Zach didn't want to lie to Caitlin, but he couldn't tell her the truth. Look, he said, we had some really tough times where we used to live, and I'm trying to forget them. If it's all the same to you, I'd like to leave the past where it belongs and get on with my life here in Elko. I hope that's okay. I like you, Zach, and I want to know you better. I like you too. He took her hand. Someday maybe I'll tell you about it, but for now, let's just leave it alone. Okay. Besides, Zach added, curiosity killed the cat. Very funny and not too original either. She punched him in the arm. What can you expect from a guy who's been breathing sawdust for a week? Zach jumped off the bench. Speaking of which, I'd better get back to work. I'll give you a hand for a little while. I don't have to start in the kitchen for another hour or so. He handed her a roller. Sam wants everything white, including the ceiling. They worked steadily over the next hour in contented silence. When the wall was finished, they stepped back to take a look at their work. It's going to need several more coats, Zach said, but it does brighten up the room. After you finish painting, what do you think Sam will have you do next? I don't know. The painting's going to take a long time. Maybe I shouldn't be helping you, Caitlin said with mock seriousness. By helping, I'm taking food out of your mouth. I bet I've taken half a dinner away just by the little I've done today. Zach laughed. I hadn't thought of that. I guess you should put that roller down. What are you two doing in here? Someone behind him asked. Benet! Caitlin ran to the open door and threw her arms around him. Does Mama know you're here? No, they dropped me off and I saw light coming from this old building. I became suspicious. Of what? Changes. He looked at Zach. You are coming up to the camp next weekend. Yes, sir. I hope Unai is paying you well. This looks like very miserable work to me. He is, and I get free dinners at your restaurant. In good company, Benet said in Basque, looking at his granddaughter. Caitlin turned red. What did he say? Nothing important. Once or twice a week, Peter Short's parents left him a note to meet them someplace for dinner. These were about the only times he saw them, because they spent their nights gambling and slept most of the day. He was in no hurry. His parents were usually late, and sometimes if the cards were running well, they didn't show up at all. He walked slowly by the Nevada Hotel, hoping to run into Caitlin. He did this often and was rarely rewarded. If I had my own money, he thought, I'd eat dinner at the Nevada every night Caitlin was working. If I had a lot of money, I would get out of Elko and join my brother in San Francisco. Peter's brother Ted was 10 years older. He hadn't seen Ted since he was 4 years old. In fact, he hadn't heard from Ted in all the years he had been in Elko. Then last summer, out of the blue, Ted had written and invited him to visit if he was ever in San Francisco. Peter asked his parents for the bus fare, but something always came up. If his parents showed, maybe he could talk them into taking him to the Nevada for dinner instead of the cheap casino buffets they usually picked. He saw a light in the building next to the Nevada and walked over to it. He had heard about Sam hiring Zach Ranger to clean it. He tried the door. It wasn't locked. He put his head inside and saw the freshly painted wall. No sign of Zach, but sitting on a table on the far side was a leather backpack Zach was always carrying around. Peter stepped into the building. Ooh, part 3, Zach in the box. So we will finish that, or get to that next part rather, tomorrow. Have a great day, guys. Bye.